This programme has been recorded and is not live. You're no longer able to interact with the show, so please do not call or text, as you may still be charged. Hope you enjoy the show. Tonight, more questions for St Colmans College and the church about paedophile priest and ex-school principal Malachy Finnegan. Also tonight, the fabulous Sandra Martin from Gogglebox is here, and this poor creature will be experiencing what labour is actually like live in studio.
Fast experience, good.
All abs, that is horrendous.
Good evening. 2 weeks ago on Nolan Live, we devoted the programme to looking into the child sexual abuse by priest Malachy Finnegan at St Colmans College in Newry. Since that programme aired, we have had an extraordinary response from you, from members of the public, giving us information. Now, we promise that we are working our way through those leads that you're bringing to us, both in terms of allegations about people who have died, and there are some allegations about people still alive. We're working through it. Now remember, if you even suspect any child is in danger, you must and you should go to the police immediately. The ex-president of Ireland, Mary McAleese, this week revealed that her own family has been affected by Malachy Finnegan and the scandal around him. Her youngest brother was a victim of what she described as Finnegan's sadistic physical abuse while at St Colmans.
My baby brother, youngest of 9 children, was seriously, physically, sadistically abused by Malachy Finnegan.
That's a terrible thing to happen.
My mother, almost 90 years of age, had to discover that from the Belfast Telegraph 3 weeks ago.
For how long did it go on in the school?
For all the years he was there.
Good heavens.
And it was known, and as he pointed out, so many people had to have known. So many people who were in the school had to have known. So many people who could have done something about it. We know now that the very first complaints about Malachy Finnegan go back to the 1970s, not the 1990s at all, but go back to the 1970s, which means that there's a body of information that was well known to people who were in a position to do something about it, but didn't.
Now, after the interview, Mrs McAleese's brother, Clem, came out and made this very strong statement. I call on Karen Bradley, as Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, to lose no time in initiating an independent inquiry into child sexual abuse at St Colmans College. While Finnegan himself can no longer be called to account in the courts, I know that other adults, both in St Colmans and more broadly within the Dromore Diocese, knew of his activities and failed to act. Gentlemen, you know who you are. So tonight, we keep our focus on St Colmans College in Newry, and we are publicly asking the questions which so many of you have written to me and asked us to put forward. Who knew about Finnegan? What did they do when they did know? I want you to take a look at this photograph which has emerged in the last week. You might remember us talking about the 150th anniversary Mass of Hilltown Chapel. This photograph was taken prior to that. Let's have a look at it together. Now there's Malachy Finnegan, back third from the left. He's the paedophile. We know that the church knew he was a paedophile from 1994. We also know that Bishop McAreavey knew about these allegations in 1994. And yet, in the year 2000, there is Bishop McAreavey saying Mass with a man he knows is a suspected paedophile. The picture was taken at a Mass to celebrate Canon Stephenson moving to a new parish. Now, we don't know what the men in the photograph knew or didn't know, and we are deliberately concentrating on these two men tonight. Canon Stephenson, front row, and Canon Francis Brown in the back left. Why are we concentrating on these two men tonight? Here's why. They both taught at the school while Finnegan was there. Canon Stephenson began working at the school in 1972 and was principal from 1994 to 2000. So what we're asking is this. Did you know anything? When did you find out, Canon Stephenson, Finnegan was a paedophile? If you found anything out, did you pass anything on to the police? When we asked those questions, here's what Canon Stephenson told us. You will be aware that the issues surrounding Malachy Finnegan are under investigation by the PSNI. The diocese will continue to cooperate with all police investigations, but until their inquiries are complete, it would not be appropriate to make any public comment on these matters. Why not? Now to Canon Brown. Let's have a look at the photograph again. Back left, there he is. Was appointed to the college in 1982. Was principal between 2000 and 2010. Remember, Finnegan left in 1987. So we asked Canon Brown when he first knew about Finnegan. Let's have a look at what he said. Lo and behold, the exact same statement as Stephenson. Canon Brown and Canon Stephenson. Did you know Finnegan was a child abuser when you posed beside him in that photograph? Did you hear any rumours or allegations in the school that you both taught in? Did you hear any allegations about Finnegan? Were you both told, were either of you told by the chair of the Board of Governors, first Bishop Brooks, then Bishop McAreevy, both of whom knew since 1994? You see, the question we have is, why won't you tell us? Really, Canon Brown? Really, Canon Stephen? Because you see, there is nothing. If you strip this all back, to both of you, I would say this. There is absolutely nothing legally preventing either of the two of you from telling the public what you knew. The existence of a police investigation does not stop you making it public if you want to. You know, it just strikes me that you rely on the public an awful lot to tell you things, to share their personal experiences with you. And both of you are saying that you will not say anything to the public about this. And remember the inconsistency in this, because we know Bishop McAreevy did come out recently and tell us that he learnt of the allegations in 1994. So think of how the church is all over the place here. McAreevy says, yeah, there's a police investigation, but yeah, I can tell you, no problem, 1994. Meanwhile, Canon Stephenson and Canon Brown, they won't tell you. Question from this programme tonight, why not? Eamon McCann.
Well, the way not's quite simple. It is that the cover-up continues. That's what you've just explained to us, and will continue.
We don't know there's a cover-up because we don't know what they do or don't know.
Well,
They won't tell us.
Well, if they have nothing to cover up, they could say, we knew nothing about it, we never heard. That would be a very simple thing to say. They're not going to answer your questions. And can I tell you, I know your programme has got a big reach, both your radio programme and this, and you have asked people to contact your programmes with information. I'm not sure whether people will respond to that. We'll wait and see. I wish you well. Let me tell you this.
Can I just on that point, because it's an important point,
yeah.
and I need to make this clear. I have spent, since we did the programme 2 weeks ago, I have spent many, many telephone calls, and I have spent time, personal time also, with victims who have contacted us. This programme has been inundated. It is unbelievable. It's astonishing to me. For the first time in my career, I'm astonished actually about the amount of trauma, abuse and victims that there are. So we're getting many people reaching out to us, and we promise them again that we're working for you, all right? We promise you, and if you do want to share any information with us, a secure email is nolan@bbc.co.uk, and I promise you we'll work around the clock if you have information. If a child is at risk, you go to the police. You don't come near me, you go to the police if a child is at risk. Sorry.
Yep, what I'm saying is that sort of no matter how people look at it and say, well, is that the last one of all these series of scandals and so on? But as you've indicated, the truth is that We don't know the half of it, nor the quarter of it, nor the tenth of it. I mean, this is sort of very endemic, and what's more, the level of cover-up within the Catholic Church, I mean, internationally and not just in Ireland, and going back, not decades, but really sort of centuries, if you wanted to have that long perspective on it. I mean, that is absolutely standard practice. I mean, let me give you an example. There's only one example sort of that I've worked on. I tell you also, I wish you well with your investigations. I mean, I've in Dublin, in the Sunday Tribune, and various other places, I mean, I've written or tried to write sort of about a series of cases of this nature. It's very, very difficult to get them into print. Really difficult to get them into print, because the first question a lawyer is going to ask you is, well, will these people who told you this thing, will they stand up in court? What sort of witness do you think they'll make? Because we're going to have that. And it's very difficult to do that. But for example, I can tell you sort of in a diocese, sort of in the north, some years ago, there was a priest about to be transferred into the diocese from somewhere else on the island. The night before he arrived, sort of in the parochial house, in that, particularly in the parish, in the diocese I have in mind, an emissary from the bishop arrived to say to the other priests, there's this guy arriving in the morning, and giving him his name, I want you to keep an eye on him. The bishop wants you to keep an eye on him, and in particular, to watch what houses he goes into, and does he go into houses where there might be young girls. What conclusion do we draw from that? They knew that they were sending a person who was a danger to young girls into that a parish. Sometime later, he raped a child, an 8-year-old child, 8 years old, and I'm not talking about, I mean, raped an 8-year-old child in the parochial house. That guy was sent, and the bishop had the knowledge, and he would have come from another part sort of the church, so they would have known as well. Now, all that is going on. Now, let me say something that might seem like I'm contradicting sort of what I'm saying. The bishop concerned is not a bad man. Not a bad man at all. But his priority would have been, his overwhelming priority, sort of would have been to look after the interests of the church, because this is God's church on earth, and therefore the rules and the regulations from the divine rules must take precedence over the laws of mere mortals. That's the attitude of the church. There's the ideological context in which the cover-ups happen.
Martin, I'll come to you in just a second, because I want to go into our audience straight away tonight and find out what you think. I will say this, though. And this is a very clear message from me, okay? I've been at this a very long time. No matter what power any institution has, collectively the public have much more power. If you collect together, if information is passed on to the authorities, or indeed to someone like me, if you want to do that, whatever, I'm telling you, you're very powerful people at home. And trust me, we will work around the clock on this. Let's go into the audience and see what the feeling is. Guy in the white T-shirt. Yes, sir.
Can I just say, Stephen, as an 18-year-old young adult, I'm absolutely disgusted to hear what's been covered up. I'm a Catholic, but at the same time, how people can lie about something so sickening, something so haunting. I mean, for the victims, I mean, because it was 20 odd years ago, the victims have to live with us every day for the rest of their lives. And the victims' families have to live it for the rest of their lives.
I'm hearing, and I don't want to mention the institution, so I'm not talking here about St. Colmans, okay? I'm talking broadly. But over the last 7 days, I have had many people on the phone to me crying because of adults who have orally raped them. And I'm talking about 11-year-old children. I spoke to one victim today who said that he was physically sick as an 11-year-old child, and then as the abuse continued, he pretended to be physically sick in order to stop the abuse happening. Now, those are the type of stories which remain untold in this country, and I'm hearing of many of them.
It's not even that it affects the victims, it's the victims' families as well. Wait, I tell you, there's children, there's brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles. They have to live with that too. Somebody's lying. It doesn't matter if it was 20 years ago, 200 years ago. Somebody needs to do something, whether it be the PSNI, somebody else. Somebody needs to get involved. The PSNI says they weren't informed 2000 and...
Well, that's about a different case, isn't it? So that was about the story. Let's not contaminate one story with the other. What we're talking about here are multiple cases of abuse, when we ask about Finnegan, the story we talked about tonight, the paedophile Finnegan, so we know that Canon Brown and Canon Stephenson will not tell people like you when they knew. If they knew, they won't tell you even if they did know, right? And now we look at St Colmans School itself. So the Nolan show were in touch with St Colmans School, and we asked them a simple question: when did they first know about Finnegan? Now remember that they were party to legal proceedings taken by many victims against the school in the diocese, and had Bishop Brooks and then Bishop McAreevy as chair of the Board of Governors of the school. And would the school tell you? No, they wouldn't either. The school said the following: the school will cooperate fully with any investigation regarding Malachy Finnegan by regulatory and statutory authorities. This is the most suitable mechanism to address these issues, given that the PSNI has established a victims unit to investigate these matters, and that there may be, remember all of this about may be and might be and all of this, a potential public inquiry and further civil proceedings. It would be inappropriate for the board to make any further comment. Would it? Would it? So you're not hiding behind a PSNI investigation or a potential public inquiry, which hasn't even started yet. You just couldn't tell the public when you first knew St Colmans School. There's not an issue here about confidence in the community that you as a school will actually make public comment about any of this. No. Because there might be a public inquiry. Well, you know what? There might not be. Martin, how can people have confidence in the Catholic Church if very little's being said publicly about child abuse in Northern Ireland?
I think everybody here has been absolutely horrified to hear how a thug like Finnegan could actually do what he did over 20 years.
Who else knew and when did they know?
Yeah, well, I think that they're just listening to the discussion. There seems to be an assumption that people knew about the sexual abuse. I think we have to make a distinction between the corporal punishment, which was endemic throughout schools in Northern Ireland until corporal punishment was outlawed in 1987.
By the way,
and the sexual violence.
By the way, you see the corporal punishment, you see that punishment? There's another story where people are saying, oh yeah, it happened, it was part of the norm. Well, some of the stories I've heard where children were knocked unconscious, where children were talking about grown men hitting them as physically hard as they could.
That was one instance you have heard.
No,
I was knocked unconscious. I was knocked unconscious at St Colum's College because the priest teaching us Irish thought that I was acting.
But anyway, let's focus on. Hold on. Let's because we haven't.
You mentioned
we can't start talking about allegations on a live television programme.
Earlier.
You say, Martin, that we're making the assumption. Yes. We're deliberately not making any assumption. We're asking these people. We're asking Canon Brown and Canon Stephenson, because they were senior people within St Colmans College, we're asking them a simple question so that we do not make a presumption. When did they know? Why are they not telling us?
Well, that doesn't look good, it has to be said. However, I'll tell you, you mentioned victims earlier. I have been speaking to a victim of Malachy Finnegan over the last few weeks, and he has given me a very powerful testimony into life in St Colmans at that time. He was a student in St Colmans in the 1980s, and he was sexually abused by Finnegan, and although it was at the lower end, and although he managed to escape from the clutches of Finnegan, he still finds it terribly distressing to talk about that today. And he recalled for me how he remembers just outside the school one day when Finnegan came along. He was within a group of his mates, and a guy said, that dirty old bastard. And that victim felt so relieved when he heard him say that, because he said, it's not just me, other boys know about this. However, he goes on to tell me that he has no evidence that any teacher or any priest knew about what Finnegan was doing sexually, as opposed to the brutal corporal punishment.
We know McAreevy knew, because McAreevy was on the Board of Governors. He was the chair of the Board of Governors. So we knew that he knew. Are we seriously to presume, and maybe we should, I don't know, that he didn't tell anyone else within the school?
Yes, well, this
that he
victim,
didn't tell the
yes,
principals.
Yes, but Stephen, yes,
and
but
by
hold
the
on a
way,
minute, Stephen.
we're entitled to ask.
Of course, absolutely entitled to ask. And but this victim who was in St. Colmans in the 1980s, unlike you or unlike anybody in this audience, says to me that there would have been very powerful reasons why lads would not go to a teacher or to a priest to tell about what Finnegan was doing in secret. Paedophiles are very cunning, manipulative people. Finnegan
Sometimes
blackmailed.
they act in plain sight. You see, I have
Well, hold on, they don't necessarily do their sexual stuff in plain sight.
I have the benefit of having spoken to multiple victims. And I have the benefit of having personally heard testimony throughout the last couple of weeks that I don't want to ever hear again. Things like this is incredible, but things like, Martin, that when Finnegan came into the big assembly hall in the school, that all of the pupils put their heads down because they didn't want to be chosen.
Yes, I've heard that too.
Right?
Yes.
Now, how the hell does that happen and not one other adult knows what's going on?
They were afraid perhaps
so all
that
the
they'd get a wallop
pupils...
of a
Oh, hold
strap.
on a minute. Imagine this. So all of the pupils put their head down because they don't want to be chosen. So imagine the fear in those young boys. And not one other adult in that school knew?
Well, what
Are we serious?
Well, what that victim told me was there would have been two reasons why fellows would not go to a priest or go to a teacher. Number one, the ultimate taboo at that time, very, very regrettably and very sadly, was a fear that somebody might think that you were gay. And secondly, somebody like Finnegan wrought so much power, he was such a dictator, he was such an autocrat, that he could actually have you expelled from the school. And there rises issues about accountability. He wasn't accountable to anybody. And
I think we're missing the point here a wee bit, Stephen, or at least some of the point. I mean, the questions which should be put to Bishop McAreevy should not really, with all due respect, be put by you. They should be put by the police.
Yes.
I mean, Bishop McAreevy knew that these things had happened. It's absolutely clear that he didn't tell the authorities and didn't refer to them. It is a crime under the Criminal Justice Act of 1967 not to report a serious offence to the authorities. He didn't do that.
Well, Bishop McAreevy, of course, claims that he did do that. Let's come into the audience. Where are we going? Sorry. Lady here, second row from the back. Go ahead, from the front. Go ahead.
Hi, Stephen. I think the Catholic Church is a disgrace. All paedophiles should be hung. Everyone covered up, had involvement, had anything to do, turned a blind eye, all should be hung.
Well, we don't hang people in this country, do
Well,
we?
they should.
We put them through the criminal justice system. That's
Well,
what we
they
do.
should. They should bring it
and
back.
And we make them accountable.
Well, they should bring it back. Nobody's been accountable yet.
Yes, sir. Second row here and with the glasses. Go ahead.
Stephen, no harm to the gentleman in front of me here, but you do come across as a bit of an apologist for the Catholic Church.
I come across as
No,
apologist.
this the gentleman who you were speaking to. Sorry, I didn't catch his name. Martin, isn't it? Yeah. I think you made the point,
Well,
Stephen.
I'm not an apologist for anyone. I don't speak for anyone except myself.
Well, that's fair appalling. But if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. Can I just say, Stephen? I mean, in regard to what Eamon has said, that the bishop was a good person. I did see the documentary which dealt with the boys who were at St. Colmans, and they even had a nickname for that priest. They had a nickname, so I can't understand how the rest of the teaching profession at that particular school weren't aware of themselves. And for
some of them might not have been aware.
some of them, but I mean, if
Some of them might have been. And
Yes.
when we are asking the question, like all it takes them to do is come back to us.
Yeah.
Canon Brown and Canon Stephenson, here's all it takes you to do tonight. Just come back and say we didn't know.
Though they might take the view, Stephen, they might take
Or
the
you
view.
did know.
Yeah, though, Stephen, they might take the view that they're not answerable, with due respect to the Stephen Nolan programme, but that they would be answerable to a police inquiry or to some other form
So
of
why don't they
inquiry.
tell us that they've told the police then?
Well, the thing
Why
is
don't they
this-
tell us that they've passed the message on to the police? Why don't they do that?
here's
and
a
by the way,
separate
are
question.
these the same people that ask the public to confide in them about every aspect of their private lives? Those are the same people you're saying don't need to give any reassurance to the community of Northern Ireland about what they did or didn't know?
You mentioned, Stephen...
Hold on, Martin. We'll come back with your hand up. Go ahead. Yes, in the middle of the audience. Hello.
I just find it hard to believe that St. Colmans knew absolutely nothing about it, and the Catholic Church, like, how much do they know about it? And how deep does it go? Like, will we ever get to the bottom of all the scandals in the Catholic Church?
I received an email 3 or 4 days ago from a current pupil at St Colmans saying that they were just distraught that their school is not being open. They're just distraught that their school is not, the school that they are so proud of, that they're currently going to, is not talking more publicly about this.
Look, you see, we're missing sort of a big part of the picture here, which is this: you're saying, well, who knew what? I'll tell you who knew. The Catholic Church knew. The Catholic Church knew globally. The Catholic Church is very good at one thing, very good at a number of things, but one of them is keeping records of births, marriages, deaths, everything that happens in the parish. Every complaint that has been made that they've been aware of and covered up, not just in Ireland, but elsewhere, will have been funneled to the Vatican. It's sent sort of in at least 5 yearly intervals to the Vatican. They know. They've been covering up. Cardinal Ratzinger, subsequently Pope Benedict, when he was the head of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, once known as the Inquisition, was the head of that, he called off inquiries by the Vatican, cancelled them, into child sex abuse in front of a massive amount of evidence from the United States, from Canada, from Ireland and elsewhere. They've been all in this, Stephen. They've all been in it together. So that's why Bishop McAreevy isn't talking. That's why your two canons sort of aren't speaking. They are doing what the church has done for a long, long time and gotten away with it. You were asking the wrong question when you said, sort of, why doesn't Bishop McAreevy talk to the authorities and talk to the police? Why don't the police talk to Bishop McAreevy? We've got learned to know sort of the power that the Catholic Church has had in Southern Ireland down through the years. The Catholic Church has also had a very powerful position in Northern Ireland.
Okay.
When it did the state a lot of service.
Just finally, because we're running out of time. Guy here, yes, with the beard and the glasses, go ahead.
There's a lot here about what they knew, but like, you can't just say they knew. You have to, do they have proof? They can't just make, I don't like the idea of them making an accusation because they knew or they suspect it. They'd have to have proof before they made it. It's such a big accusation to make against someone that I feel like it would be unfair to have made it without knowing for sure. So I feel like it'd be unfair to like say, oh, they didn't tell anyone. Well, maybe they never knew for sure. They might have suspected, but there's no way to know.
So all they have to do is say we didn't know. Okay, look, I want to say this to you, and thank you both for coming in tonight. I want to say it one more time because it's important. If you've got information, if a child's in danger, you pick up the phone, you don't come anywhere near me, you go to the police, all right? That's what you need to do as a citizen in this country. If you want me, and I'm telling you we're working every day on this, if you've got any information that you want to bring to me, there is a bond, right? And that is, I promise you, we will work day and night on it. Here's the email I need you to send the information to, nolan@bbc.co.uk. That's a secure email, nolan@bbc.co.uk. There's an action line if you do need help, information and support with sexual abuse, bbc.co.uk/action line. There it is on your screen with the telephone number. Ladies and gentlemen, give our guests a round of applause. Thank you for coming in. Thank you. Okay. Right, let's move on, because I'm constantly being told by the bigwigs in the BBC that I need to get out of Belfast and into the country to meet some culchies. I don't know if you remember the last time I visited a farm. You might not want to remember this.
I can't.
So you can imagine that when the farmers of Catesbridge invited me down, I kind of felt a wee sickie coming on. But I did manage to ring ahead, get the farmers, Kieran and Jimmy, to organise a very special job for my young apprentice, Vinny, because he thinks he's going to learn to drive a tractor.
The size of this beast don't mean Nolan either. Right, I just get in. Oh, it's got like a springy seat on it. I like the sound of that. You've got some catchphrases, haven't you?
Driver like you Stowler.
Driver like you, like Stoll.
Yeah, yeah.
Driver like you Stowler. I haven't Stowler.
And then if you can't howler, roller.
Are we talking about the tractor?
Yeah.
If I take my foot off the brake, it's going to move. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I quite like this though. This is fun. It's like the biggest dodging you could ever drive. I feel a wee bit car sick now.
You can set them seats at their...
It's just in my head.
Good job, man.
What do you reckon?
I think he's ready for a bit more, you know.
You might need this.
What's this for?
You'll find out.
Three years at university, and it's led to this, and it is absolutely stinking. So thank you, Stephen. That's sore in my nose. This is like if you walk into Stephen's dressing room before the show, he gets a bit nervous, bless him. Rotten. And then, pull the brown handle.
Yeah.
The brown handle. Oh my God, we're
And that's
spreading
you.
poo! Who said the Nolan show was full of shit? They're right.
So that's our Vinny at the farm. Vinny's been stinking out the office since he came back. If you're a Tractor fan, you can see more on Tractor Mad next Monday night on BBC One.
From the field to the festival, ploughing to pulls.
Aye, there's two types of people.
Now, from the frying pan to the fire, you're not going to believe this, but earlier on this evening, a man checked into the BBC ready to give birth on the show tonight. Nicola, what's going on?
Good evening, Stephen. Yes, welcome to the plush surroundings of the BBC delivery suite. And forget about him for a minute, he's just in labour. But here we've got Kim, and she has got her finger on this all-important button, and the button is on a birthing simulator, which is hooked up to this willing victim, Neil McTaggart, who is currently experiencing what it's like to be in labour. And with that in mind, I think maybe he's due another wee contraction.
No, I'm good, I'm good.
I think he's further along than he thinks. And also here adding a calming influence to the whole scene. You okay there, Neil? Is Sister Jasmine Callow, who has been mopping his fevered brow all day and giving him a wee bit of pain relief here. Now, Neil, can I have a quick chat? Why did you want to volunteer for this?
We have 2 kids under 2. My wife did it, Gassner, and she's a legend. So this is for Jen.
Big tough man. So here he's given off a wee bit at the minute, but let's see what he's been doing for the rest of the day.
Of course, you don't have a uterus, so we're going to use the muscles to get your contractions going on. The better the contractions, the better you can give birth. So that's much better for you.
Neil, you look so cute lying there. We're just about to hook you up to this machine.
Okay.
Are you nervous?
I am actually really nervous. These are great, but I am nervous.
Do men have a lower pain threshold?
Well, I think that's what we're about to find out, really.
So, Kim, let's go. Let's press that button.
Behave yourself, Kim. Behave yourself. Oh. He's getting a vasectomy as soon as we get out of here.
This is only the first stage.
Yeah.
You can always begin to sweat.
That's horrendous.
I know, it's coming in waves. Okay, that's fine. Breathe.
Neil, I hate to break the news, but we're only halfway through.
Get her off that machine.
Come on, crank it up, Kim, crank it up.
I'm going to get so much stick for this.
What happens in the labour ward stage?
Come on. Keep pushing. Breathe through the pain, Neil. Come on, breathe. That's what men always say. Do you want him in or out?
I don't know what I want. I want a divorce. We tingle.
Where are you feeling the tingling?
All abs. That is horrendous. Bro, keep going. Squeeze. Yes, there we go. A bit of breathing. There we go. It's on it.
Oh, cheers.
Oh, eat it.
Cheers. Code word banana.
Okay.
Code word banana.
Is he putting that on? That man's a whoosh. And that's only level 2. We're coming up to level 3 next. By the way, they asked me to do it. I wouldn't do it. Do you think I should do it? Yes. Still not doing it. Now, One of my favourite TV personalities now. She made it big on Gogglebox with her pal Sandy beside her. Who can forget the large curry? Since then, she's gone from riches to rags, tells us that she's back on benefits after a time on Gogglebox. Gogglebox, whatever it is. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Queen Sandra Martin. Hello, Sandra. Hello there. Good to see you, Sandra. How are you?
I'm HAPPY.
Good to see you.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Well, Sandra, thank you for with us with your big colourful hat and everything.
Well, so it was my birthday, February, and I have a friend from Ireland for the last 40 years, and she made it for me. So I thought, when you invited me, I might as well bring it out because I haven't wore it. Do you love it, everyone?
It's coming up.
And it's coming up, yes, I know.
St. Paddy's Day
Yeah.
as well, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So what was the Gogglebox experience really like, going from not knowing to everybody torturing you as you walk up and down the street?
As it's happening now, it's getting worse now. Well, I was shocked. Yeah, it is. And I'm still in shock now. I was shocked 5 years ago. I was on benefits, unemployed, but full-time grandma, sitting in my local pub in Brixton, doing nothing, as some of us do. And this gentleman come in. Now, because I'm like this all the time, my name is Queen Bee, so I am the member of the community in Brixton. I've actually nominated myself Queen of Brixton, but I'm not, anyway. So anyway, a guy came in out of the rain, because I was in the right place at the right time, named James, and he went to the bar, and he said to the barman of the paper that we're doing this documentary, or whatever, about Gogglebox, cut the story short, because the barman goes, go to Queen Bee, come to me, but I was a bit, woo, you know what I mean? So
tell me, what was it like when you became when it was at its peak?
When they said to me, when they came to me and said to me, would you do the show? I said, no, I'm on benefits, I've got a CRB, you know what I mean? He goes, I don't, I haven't worked. What do I do? He said, all you've got to do is sit down and eat and watch TV.
That's how it all
And then that's how it started. By the time I look around, I had to run about a TV license, I had to get a TV license, I had to go to
you mean
social.
you didn't pay your TV
No, I
license?
never. And when we was watching the TV...
Scandalous.
When we was watching the TV, I even said it on Loose Woman, they said, have you got TV license? I mean, no. Well, that was paid. And then I had to go to social, come off social, and my life turned around in seconds. BAFTA Awards, NG Awards, met Prince Philip, David
dosh,
Beckham.
right.
Money was coming through my nose.
So what's it like when you've had no money and then you've got lots to do?
Well, see...
You spent it.
What I did, I was so excited. Right? I just spent it. I blew it. It went. Then I got addicted to hotels, all hairstyle, and buying food for people. It just went. So 4.5 years.
Yeah. What kind of money were you getting? So
I was getting quite a bit.
How much?
A bit, man.
Come on.
The taxman, me and the taxman was like this. He got quite a bit of no.
So would you have spent over 100 grand?
Well, when they said 100 grand, if you add it up, £20 a day for 5 years straight.
You're good at
that's 70.
You've got the celebrity ability to avoid questions,
it
don't you?
It just went, but no biggie. But what happened 4.5 when Sandy left, my daughter came on, but 4.5 years later, I didn't want to go do it again. The reason why I left Gogglebox, because it was a contract show, and I was offered Big Brother, I was offered The Jungle, I was offered...
You've got to do The Jungle.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, I don't know. But I was offered a lot of things.
Yeah.
So last year, July, I left Gogglebox, and I couldn't pay the rent no more, but I had a few quid. So I went to go and live in a hotel from now until the 6th of February when I went back to social, and they said, welcome home, Sandra.
So back on social?
Yeah, I'm back on benefits. Only until...
And do you feel more comfortable on benefits?
I do feel comfortable. Well, I'm not going to stay on there long. I'm waiting for a door to open, because obviously last night I got a new show out called 100 Years Younger. Yeah. But like, I had to, because I'm not in a job and I haven't got an agent, and like, being a celebrity is not easy,
I'm not saying you should be, right?
Yeah.
But is there any bit of you embarrassed to be on benefits? Because for those people that say, get out there and work.
No, because
get off your ass and work.
No, I am working. Well, I do charity work at the moment, so I'm booked till next year, right? But what it is, the reason why I had to go back on it, when Gogglebox came into my life, not saying I didn't want to work, but they came into my life for 5 years and gave me all this big money. I never got managed, so it went. I blew it. So I'm only going back on benefits now because I need an income. So I'm waiting for a door to open, a platform.
Let's have a look at your new show.
Which one?
Which one?
Oh, yeah.
100 years younger. Let's have a look.
Exercise improves blood flow and nutrient delivery to your body's biggest organ, your skin, keeping it looking young.
So everyone now try single leg balance, hands on your hip, and go.
Hold on, I got to concentrate.
Physical ability can also be an indicator of brain age.
I don't know about that.
A clinical study has revealed people unable to stand on one leg for 20 seconds are more at risk of dementia.
I started off bad then. And rest.
Nice for the Irish dancing there.
Has it improved?
Yeah, well, 21 days. No, when I got off the plane, it happened last year, went straight into the airport to Burger King, automatically. I told them...
After or before?
No, after. But I know how to live healthy.
Right.
I know exactly what to do because I did a diary of it.
Yeah.
I do know what to do. It was very good. You know what I mean? Washing my face. I do sometimes still wash my face with
What
my
do they do? Urine facials?
Yeah.
Urine facials?
It makes me younger. I'm 56 now.
Are you?
You lot should try it. The next step is that I might be drinking it as well.
Oh, no.
No,
Really?
I'm only joking.
So all of this stuff that you were taught in that programme, do you want to be healthy? Do you want to lose a bit of weight?
Next week, Monday, I'll be opening up a gym in Birmingham. That's why I live in Birmingham, yeah? And watching the show now, like from last, I'm going to go back.
Yeah.
I'm not really in a rush.
Listen, while we're talking, by the way, about looking younger and all of this kind of stuff, can I just say, Director Davey, come nice and close in my face.
You look all right, actually.
Well, I look all right. Right. So come nice and close, because something has happened to me tonight. I know you all think that I'm usually beautiful. We're not on auto cue now. We're not on script. You see, before I came on air tonight, my temporary filling fell out. Watch this. Look, can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
I know. I don't think he's... Where do we just go up? Because they're trying not to show you. Watch this. Oh, we're out of the light. Come on. Come on, nice and tight to me. Nice and tight. There we go. Look at that there. So that's 20 years older for me.
To you? Do you know who you look like?
Who do I look like?
A little bit.
Who?
Oh, and I've sat down with him. You got the Eamon Holmes.
Eamon Holmes?
Ruth, is it out? Is it Holmes? Ruth is You do.
Oh, well, that's a compliment.
Yeah, you do.
Eamon's a gentleman. Yeah. He will be devastated that you've said that.
Do, because I met him
Absolutely
already.
Devastated that you've said that.
Why? You're beautiful.
Oh, well, that's lovely. And you're beautiful too. And
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Give a round of applause,
very
ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Now, let's move on again tonight. We heard the head of the Northern Ireland Civil Service, David Sterling, reveal at the RHI inquiry yesterday that meetings, have you heard about this? Meetings with government ministers at Stormont sometimes were not minuted. Why? And this is the revelation. Well, in order to prevent information being released under Freedom of Information requests. This means that you, the public, you might never know what happens in certain meetings between political parties and senior civil servants. Let's have a look at what David Sterling told the inquiry.
A feature of the devolved administration here has been that the two main parties have been sensitive to criticism. And I think it's in that context that as a senior civil service, we got into the habit of not recording all meetings on the basis that it is safer sometimes not to have a record that, for example, might be released under Freedom of Information, which shows that things that might have been considered unpopular were being considered.
So Sam McBride from the newsletter, the now head of the civil service, he wasn't then, he's the permanent secretary, he is openly admitting, publicly admitting that, yeah, they turn their head, they don't write things down in case the public find out.
The surprising thing here isn't that this goes on. I think there's been a very long history of this. It's been rumoured, it's been leaked, it's been whatever. For the head of the Civil Service to actually stand up and say it in such a blasé way, which almost seemed like he didn't think there was any great difficulty here. He certainly didn't seem to think there was any great difficulty for him, or that it would reflect badly on him. But what this shows is that really the Civil Service were, I suppose, willing to bend their own rules or break their own rules to please the political masters who were in their departments.
So he was talking about the two leading parties, in other words, Sinn Féin and the DUP. So essentially, if we say this out loud, the Civil Service, some of them, were prepared to hide stuff, not write it down, so that the legal right of citizens in this country to seek information would be suppressed.
That's right. And
That's it.
And that is entirely in keeping with a lot of what we know about how the Stormont system operated. It was incredibly secretive. They were secretive when they were asked questions in the Assembly. They were secretive when they were asked questions by the media. They were secretive when they were asked questions under freedom of information requests. So this is not something which is in any way that is jarring with what we already know about Stormont. It really confirms from the very top that this is how it ran.
Well, again, let's ask you, the public, how you feel about this. Let's go into the audience. Guy here. Yeah, third
Stephen, these people have compromised the integrity of the civil service. They've destroyed accountability at various levels. And a lot of people in Northern Ireland now have the opinion that the senior echelons of the civil service are staffed by idiots, imbeciles, cretins,
well, now, hold
fools,
on. There's no
and
way.
morons.
No, you can't say
Yes,
that because it's
I
not
can.
true. You can't. Right? Because it's just factually untrue. I know
Stephen,
some of them. It's factually untrue. You don't
they
need to go
have
into that gratuitous
destroyed-
language. You can talk about what they did, but let's not get
Stephen,
personal.
they have destroyed political accountability. They have...
They're doing what their ministers asked them to.
Hang on. No, they can always say no. They have compromised...
Could they say no?
Of course they can say no.
By the way, what's been hidden
and
from
the
us,
leader
I guess...
the leader of the pack, the head conspirator, is Mr. Sterling.
Well, no, Mr. Sterling.
Mr.
Sterling at the time was the permanent secretary. He's now head of the Civil Service, and I have publicly asked him this morning through the Nolan
Stephen,
radio show, what's the future
How did
going
he
to be
become
like?
head of the Civil Service? Was it his turn?
Well, he boarded for a job and he got it. David Ford. Here's what we don't know. What was hidden? Here's what we don't know. What did the Civil Service not write down so that these people in this audience and people at home would never find out?
Well, the answer is we don't know what was hidden in certain departments. We do know what was done in the Department of Justice when I was there because we kept proper records. We kept proper minutes. We answered FOI requests on time. We had the best record for answering Assembly questions on time because I believe in openness and transparency, and that's what the people who worked with me did.
We have some sources telling us that the Information Commissioner was taking an interest in what was going on in government here. So the Information Commissioner in London, we've been told, was taking an interest in what was going on here. They were so concerned about how FOIs were dealt with.
Yeah, and there are clearly issues of concern in some departments which need to be investigated thoroughly. And even the simple statistics of what FOIs were answered on time gives an indication as to the way some departments behaved. Never mind the issue as to whether things were or weren't properly recorded.
Mark H. Durkin is joining us from our studio tonight. Hello to you, Mark, our studio in Foyle tonight. We've also been told by multiple sources, Mark, that the DUP actually had a filter so that when there were freedom of information requests and the advice was given as to whether that information should be made public or not, that the DUP decided what information was released, a minister or a SPAD. Did you know about this?
No, I clearly didn't know about this. I'm not sure who your sources are, but I think if we go back to the discussion that we started out having here tonight, in order for there to be trust in politics, there needs to be transparency in politics. And while there long has been the suspicion of secrecy and examples of suppression of information that you quite memorably and Sam McBride there have exposed in the not too distant past, this candid comment from the head of Civil Service yesterday should send shockwaves right through society here. Transparency and accountability are the cornerstones of any democracy. And I mean, the very least people should expect from their elected representatives and from government officials is openness and honesty.
Okay, Mark, thank you. Let's come to the front of the audience here. Yes, sir, in the glasses. Yes, go ahead with the beard. Go ahead.
The British government, Labour,
and Tories and the Irish government were doing things privately that they didn't want anybody
A civil
to
servant's
know
different,
about.
though. A civil servant is not a politician. They are supposed to be neutral.
Yes, and...
They're supposed to be neutral.
They have lots of things maybe they want to incur.
Okay.
And not too early to tell people about it.
Guy, two doors long. Go ahead.
I think it's about the accountability. Clearly, the civil servants are now no longer accountable because they've been not taking proper minutes, so there's no proper records. You've then got to ask the question, with Sinn Féin and DUP sewing up power the way they have over the last number of years, how much further does this go on, and how far and how long has it gone on for? It needs to stop. We need to now put some measures in place to bring accountability from today.
Rachel, you're head of advocacy at Transparency International. How does this feel to you that we had a situation in Northern Ireland where civil servants were going, sorry, we're secretly not writing this down in case anybody here finds out?
It's astonishing, particularly, with the meeting that was specifically referenced here. There were discussions about key decisions about large amounts of public spending, and minutes were not taking. I mean, this is something very worrying to me because, and the guy hit it on the head, it's all about accountability. Politicians work for us.
The head of civil services saying the reason they didn't do it was in case it was the political parties were shown to be unpopular. Why does he care if they're unpopular? It's not his job to care if they're unpopular or not.
I actually took issue with the reason he gave. He said that they needed to create a safe space so they could have frank discussions. But there is actually an exemption in the Freedom of Information Act that allows for that. So there was no need to go to those lengths, which begs the question, what were they trying to hide?
Alan Patterson, you're former principal clerk to the Northern Ireland Assembly. How does this feel to you?
I'm also a former civil servant. Well, it feels dreadful. I worked as a private secretary also for 3 years in the Northern Ireland office in the early 80s. And the standard process in the public service is to take notes. And they do it for very good reasons. And it's to inform the people who are there. It's for efficiency. It allows for further work on the issues, maybe action points. But it's also to provide a document. Documents and records are the glue that holds democracy together. And an impartial civil service is central to that.
Can people now fairly conclude, Sam, that the civil service has not shown impartiality, that there's a question mark over their impartiality and their integrity?
I don't think it's necessarily about their impartiality. I think it is that they got too close to the people who were their rulers and who they thought would be their rulers for the foreseeable future. I think there was a very significant change to the rules as to how the head of the civil service was changed, which gave the DUP and Sinn Féin a lot of influence, where they literally interviewed David Stirling for that post. Now, who can blame, on one level, an ambitious civil servant who thinks my career depends on pleasing my minister? There are very deep problems with that, and I think it's absolutely right, as Rachel has said, a transparent system is for the best. It's something which is there for good reason. And now the civil service are finding themselves unable to explain or defend themselves where they're in conflict with ministers.
Very briefly, in 30 seconds, how does David Stirling, as head of the civil service, get back any public trust that he's lost in disclosing this? What does he have to do?
I think he needs to make clear that this has stopped, that it has absolutely not gone on. I think there is a much greater problem at the moment because there are no ministers, there is no accountability to the Assembly, there's no accountability to the public democratically. He's in complete control.
David Ford, last word to you.
It's clear that some departments were behaving in an entirely improper way by the evidence which has been given. What we need to see is a comparison between the good departments and the bad departments and ensure that they all start living up to the responsibilities they have, that they deal with matters in an open, transparent way, accountable to the public. That's what I think I did in the DOJ. That's what my civil servants did in the DOJ. That clearly wasn't happening everywhere else.
OK, we'll continue talking about this on the Radio Ulster show tomorrow morning. Ladies and gentlemen, give our guests a round of applause. Thank you very much indeed. Right, so time to see how our baby daddy is getting on. I think things are progressing nicely because I hear the consultant, this is true, has arrived. Many of you, ladies in the audience, may recognise this man because he reckons he's delivered over 6,000 Northern Ireland babies in his time. If you recognise that face, it's the baby doctor, Jim Dornan. Nicola.
Well, Jim has arrived here at the 11th hour, just here for the glory. Jim, what do you reckon about this? Do you think it should be compulsory for every man in Northern Ireland to experience this?
Not compulsory, but if those who want to experience it, I think it works very well from the physical point of view. I don't think they can understand emotionally what women go through.
Maybe
but
here's Stephen arriving now. Do you think maybe it'd be a good idea to hook him up? Might keep him quiet every now and
Stephen and I
again.
both agreed we're not going to do this.
Sorry to interrupt. Carry on.
No, you're okay.
Wouldn't want to take over your gig. No, carry on. Wouldn't want to take over. What's happening here? Is this woos? You're a woos.
Woos, you try it.
He's done
Is it? Are you acting or is that really pushing?
That is tight.
Very real. He's had 148 contractions. There's 2 more to go. I think there's but a woman usually have about 150
And so this is
contractions.
simulating what it actually feels like, Jim.
From a physical point of view, yes, I think it's great that they have a machine like this that can experience what. Oh, look, wasn't that simple?
Look at that. There's one little baby.
I think they'll name it after you.
It must be. Well, tell me what it is like to do your job, Jim.
A great privilege, a great
Would
thrill.
you stop screaming, please?
A great privilege and a great thrill and a great moment that you never get over. Shivers up and down your back.
And do you think men will ever understand?
Well, they'll understand maybe below the neck, but I think the company need to do get another gizmo that tells us how women work above their neck.
What can a man learn from this so that if they are at the birth of their child, Jim, they'll maybe be more akin to what's happening, apathetic?
I'm honestly not for making men be there. When I started, men never went. They were in the pub or at home. And then,
do you recommend men come or not?
No, I think it should be complete choice. I think it's good for some women and some men. I've seen some partners thrive with it, and I've seen some damaged by it. So I think it's very much up to choice. But I do think this machine works from a physical point of view, but emotionally, women. I think it would be great if we had a machine where we understand what women go through from conception to birth through life.
Wow. What has it really felt like, honestly?
That was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
Honestly?
You've done very well.
A lot harder.
And you're a personal trainer, right?
I am
so
a
you're,
trainer.
You're a fit guy.
I train all the time, yeah. 6 days a week. Jiu-jitsu mainly and a bit of weights, but that was hard work. So hats off to...
The squeezing was tight.
Yeah, I nearly hurt the big man there too. So
he was great too.
And thanks to Jasmine as well. Big thanks to Jazz.
Yes, Jazz.
Listen, thanks for doing it. Thanks, and
Great,
Jim,
good
thanks for
man.
coming
Nice
in.
to meet you,
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Now, you're going to love the end of the show tonight because with Paddy's Day coming up on Saturday, we've just time now for this spectacular from Fusion Fighters. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight. And we're going to end the show with the cast of Fusion Dance Fest.